Welcome to JC's Stocks and Markets podcast for November 6th, 2022. I'm JC. Been investing in the stock market for 40 plus years. I have made good trades and investments and some not so good. My intentions with these podcasts are to share my unique thoughts and opinions on individual stock and ETF picks with an emphasis on dividend-paying securities, which are my favorites. The idea is to share my thoughts and possibly give you, the listener, some investment ideas so you and I can maybe make some money. I'm not doing this for income, nor am I trying to earn any advertising revenue from anyone. I just enjoy doing this, and I hope to share some chances to make a little money along with you. During some shows, we may stray into other topics or news that affect the stocks or ETFs that we're discussing. This could include commentary on government and politics, Federal Reserve policies, which I'm going to talk about today, current events, or some general thoughts that rattle around in my head. The opinions shared in these podcasts are my own, and they're just that, opinions. I invest in many of the stocks and ETFs that are featured in the podcast, including the one today. Now, I'll try to let you know if I have or will establish a position in these securities. Disclaimer, by all means, everyone has to do their due diligence prior to investing any money into anything. With these picks, these are no exception. Do your own due diligence. With that, let's go make some money. The ETF I want to discuss today is TLT, which is the iShares 20-year plus Treasury bond ETF. It's probably the most conservative investment in the investment world, although it does carry some risks. Why, you might say, why am I picking this stock? I just want to look at a very conservative way to put your money, other than money market, where you can make a few bucks and maybe make some money in the long run, which is, I'm going to show you a little strategy that I'm looking at to make a few bucks with very limited risk. The iShares 20-year plus bond fund. I'll give you the bond summary. The first graphic I have is a fund will invest at least 80% of the assets of the component securities in the underlying index, at least 90% of the assets in U.S. Treasury securities that the advisor believes will help the fund track the underlying index. Extremely conservative, backed by the U.S. government, and you can see from the top holdings what we're looking at generally in terms of what the holdings are. Again, this is a very conservative investment, but there are some risks because the asset value can fall depending on where you think the Federal Reserve policies are going, and we'll talk about that a little later. The next slide I want to show you is the distributions and expenses of the TLT, of the iShares TLT ETF. Essentially, as of 11/4, the distribution yield is about 2.5%. They pay monthly dividends. Most recent distribution is 23.5 cents per share. Expense ratios are really low at 0.15. And anyway, I just wanted to show you that, and let's go to the next slide. This next slide is from Fidelity.com, and what this shows is the net asset value of the share price starting at December 1st, 2020, where it was about $156 a share. And today, this shows at 11/1, 96.68 cents, $96.68 per share. It's actually in the $94 range now since the last Fed funds rate hike. Not so much a rate hike, but how hawkish they were at the Fed funds after the Fed funds meeting. And you can see there's the monthly distributions, 16 cents per share in December last year, and the recent one is 23.5 cents per share. This chart I want to show you is from TLT Quotes. It's an interesting site that you create some graphs with to chart your favorite stocks. Anyway, this is a 3-month chart showing the steady decline downward from about 115 down to 94 and some change right now. I think we're getting close to a low here, but just pay attention to inflation. The federal funds rate and the Federal Reserve, keep your eye on it. If you're looking to invest in this stock, in this ETF, pay attention to what the Federal Reserve is saying. Pay attention to what the inflation numbers are. That's going to be your key as to when this finally bottoms out. And I think we're going to bottom out somewhere about 90, which I'll show you in just a minute. And like I said, with TLT, just like any other stock, there are risks. There are downside risks. I'm showing you now the long-term, actually the entire lifetime of the fund. And you can see I've got the blue line down at the bottom. Right now we're at 94 cents a share, but there's pretty doggone good support at about $90 per share. I mean, you could piece in now, which is what I did. I bought a little bit this week. I'm going to piece in down at about $90 a share because that looks like it's great support, long-term support. And honestly, I think that's where we're going to see the reversal in both interest rate hikes. I don't think they're going to be that stiff next year. They're going to slow those down. Also, I think the dollar will start a gradual leveling off and maybe a reversal early next year, which I think would support this $90 range. I don't see it going too much lower, but heck, if the Fed funds, if they decide to go crazy and raise the Fed funds rate to, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8% if they have to, if inflation doesn't get under control, yeah, you could see this go a lot lower. If you don't have the stomach for it, don't invest in it. But for me, I bought in a little bit this week, and I intend to kind of piece in and watch the Fed. Okay, this next graphic I want to show you is really the important one that's going to trigger and send TLT, the iShares 20-year plus Treasury bond fund, either up or down. As you can see from January 2022, we've gone from basically zero interest rates, where Fed funds overnight rate is 3.83. I honestly believe that the Fed funds rate, overnight rate, will end at about 4.5 to 4.75%. I also believe that the drop in the TLT is already priced in for at least that. So that's why I think we're heading towards a real bargain here. And I'll show you in the next slide what the strategies are as far as TLT. That is, if you believe what I'm thinking, that the Fed funds rate will end at about 4.5 to 4.75%, and you think that the big rate hikes are essentially done and they won't go too much farther than that. That's the key to this whole strategy. This next and last slide that I'm going to show you is the strategy that I'm thinking for TLT. This is from yahoo.com finance, and I put some graphic lines in there just to show what I'm thinking. I purchased some this week at about the $96 range because I'm thinking that I'm going to pick up 2.5% dividend while this thing is still going down, and while interest rates are going up. I believe that interest rates will go up, like I said, to 4.5 to 4.75% on the discount rate, and this will bottom out at about $90 per share. The strategy that I have, and it's a long-term strategy, this is a multiple year strategy, is that I believe that the Fed is trying to slow the economy down. I think the Fed is trying to slow growth down. They're going to slow employment down. With that, they're going to slow inflation for sure. With that, I do believe that if you think like I do, I believe the Fed will do somewhat of a reversal, maybe this year, maybe not this year, maybe the end of next year, and maybe into 24. I think we can see a reversal in this from the $94 range, or maybe the $90 bottom out range, to about $120 a share. If you look at that, that's essentially a 33% gain plus the 2.5%, and it keeps going up all the time, 2.5% dividend. And this, obviously this is a very, very safe investment, except for depending on where you think interest rates are going. Now, if the federal funds rate goes down even further, let's say the Fed puts us in a fairly deep recession and they have to take the federal funds rate down to closer to 2%, I believe, and I think you'll see that the Fed funds rate will go down to about 2%, and I believe that corresponds to about $140 per share on the TLT, which is about a 50% return. That could happen in a year or two as well, depending on how deep a recession is. So I think you're looking at a good possibility of a reversal in the next 18 months to 2 years, but it's a pretty good return. If you're looking at 30% or you're looking at 50%, those are good returns. And once they start the train on the lowering of the discount rate, you can bet your butt that this slope downward from upper left to lower right will reverse itself and go from lower left to upper right. So that's my strategy on this, and that's how I'm playing it. Plus, you get, like I said, the 2.5%, and that's going to go up a little bit too, maybe closer to 3% dividend as you go here. So that's my strategy. If you have the stomach for the Fed funds, let's say topping off, maybe this is the investment for you. If not, maybe it's not the investment for you. Maybe you wait till they get up to closer to 6%. You could get this at a much better bargain than that. I still think they're gonna raise rates until they break something, and then they're gonna have to make a reversal. Not a quick reversal, but a reversal in the Fed funds rate. That's my strategy. I hope you got something out of this. I appreciate you listening. Do your own due diligence. Read up. This is a very safe investment. However, read up on the potentials for your risk on this. As you can tell, it moves. The beta is over 1. It's closer to 2, to be honest. So you have to be very, very careful. Thank you for listening. I certainly hope you got something out of this. As we leave here on this podcast, I hope you got something out of it. The outro is by Just One Goat, which is a band I used to play in. It's a song called "She's the One." I wrote it, recorded by the band. They were the talent. I was just the songwriter, but I did play guitar. Hope you enjoy it, and thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Goodbye now.
She's the one. Oh, she's the one. Everything is magical, even when she's not around. No, it's not that radical, I just know what I have found. Well, she's always there for me. It's simple, can't you see? She's the one. Oh, she's the one. She's making my life so much stronger. God, let me stay just a little bit longer. She's the one. Yeah, she's the one. Yeah. Wasted all this time. She's the one. Oh, she's the